Alright, so once the sketch process finished, then I turn that layer down, the opacity, I turn the opacity down so I can just see what I'm doing. I also have a different color. And then I have a layer and I right click on it and go to layer properties, and I always change it to gray. You can change whatever color you want, but gray works for me for my line work layer. And then my color layer is always red. Right, so at this stage is when I start adding in, the details and everything. And I don't really focus when I work on the details of the tattoo. I don't. Well, sometimes it depends how complicated it is. I might do another sketch over this to add more detail to it, and then more changes might happen while I'm doing that. But usually, if I'm confident in what I like and I see everything, I just go right into the line work itself. And for line work, I use my ink brush, which is a brush with the opacity to 100%. Opacity is not set to pin pressure. It's turned off. The only thing on is size, which is set to pin pressure. Right, so I go ahead and just start lining it then. And I try to line it in the way I would when tattooing. So when you're designing a tattoo, you want it to be easily convertible, and the best way to make it easily convertible is to do it like you're going to actually do the tattoo itself. You need to be zoomed in a lot when doing line work in Photoshop, otherwise it just doesn't come out right. Or you have to do it really super fast, and I don't like doing my line work too quickly, as I don't like pulling the lines very fast. Like some of them like that I will, but you get the best looking lines when you pull certain lines very quickly. That one was kind of difficult to match up. It takes years of practicing, and you have to be able to do this first with a pencil if you ever want to be able to do it with a tablet. And some of this is really difficult to do with certain kinds of tablets, like the kind where you're not drawing on the screen. But a Cintiq, which is what I'm using, feels closest to a pen, so it's like you're just drawing right on paper. But you need to practice pulling lines on paper first before you're ever going to be able to do it, digitally. Well, I suppose if you only practice digitally, then you can do it that way. But I recommend starting with pencil and just pull nice, smooth lines with your pencil. Get to the point where you can do that no problem. And once you can pull lines smoothly with a pencil, you should be able to pull them with anything, digital or pen, whatever it might be. And I didn't like the way that right there came out, so I'm going to erase all that. Start over. I kind of pull sometimes I like pull my lines off like that, so they kind of overlaps. And I don't know if I'd actually want that line there or not, but maybe. The swirls, I'm not sure if the swirls are going to be red or like more of a green color. So I'm going to just kind of hold off doing that for a second, because I can. And also you can add weight to your line work as well, so they're not all the same thickness. Sometimes little things like that look cool, just little cool movements. Right now I'm doing all the lines pretty much the same weight. That line's kind of hard to pull that direction. I could just turn my tablet. That's another reason why sometimes it's hard to do your line works and stuff on a regular tablet that's not a Cintiq, one where you can't twist it around, because then you have to twist the canvas around, which means you can with the Intuos 4 there's a little button, like a rotary button. You can literally just spin your canvas all over the place with newer Photoshops, and that really comes in handy. So that way you can just, instead of like me, I can actually tilt my Cintiq as if I'm tilting my piece of paper to get the right angle, but you can't do that with a tablet. So you can tilt the canvas in real time, which is definitely comes in handy. Right. So once I have the outline work for the flower and I'm cool with it, I like it, then I have to decide on the colors of those swirls. I know I want contrast within the piece. So the flowers are going to contrast the butterfly. The butterflies will be mostly cool colors. The flowers will be mostly warm colors. They complement each other. And so I might want to have the swirlies kind of maybe have reds, and have the reds bleed into like purple, and then maybe at the tips blue, and that way they all just kind of comes outward. So come red to blue like that, and that might look pretty cool. In which case then I need to decide what color should I outline it in. I'd probably outline it in the purple then, the color that's in between all of them. So if I was tattooing right now, I would use a bigger liner, and either that or use the same liner. And what you can do is you can do a technique like this, where you do one line, then you do another line, and then you, with little circles, you fill that in like that. And that's one way to get thicker lines. You can also just use a thicker thing. And I don't want it all to just be like thick, so I want it to kind of maybe turn like this, and then like maybe kind of go, so some parts will be thick and some parts will be thinner. Like maybe have this be thick and then have it come down to more thin. And adding all this is really cool. This looks cool. It's more new school. You know, where you have the, think of it like new school as like kind of like little comic pieces, you know how, or tag pieces. So they kind of, you know, do a lot of the outline, but the outlines, the outline's usually always thicker than everything else. Also, this helps with forced perspective. It kind of adds perspective to the piece. Another thing you can do, besides just outlining the outline like that, is you can actually have line work throughout the piece. Like with this kind of piece, it's probably better just to outline, but certain things like this here, this is in front of this, so I can have these lines be thicker than the lines inside. And you know, like if it's some things that are closer to you, like maybe the butterfly is a little bit closer to me than the flower, I can have its lines, you know, be thicker. Or the parts of the butterfly that's closer to me, like this side, have it all thicker and that side thinner. But this side of the flower is closer, so I'm going to have all its lines much thicker. Because this petal right here is a lot closer than that back there. And so doing things like that with your line work can help with perspective. It can kind of force a perspective that just makes it look cooler. And then some of these lines in the back, I'm going to leave the same instead of making the whole outline thick. And you don't have to do the outline trick either. That's more for new school. You could just make the things that are closer to you have thicker lines. And so I'm going to have all of this have more boldness, like this. See, like pulling that line like that, I make it look easy, but I'm telling you, it takes practice. It takes so much practice to be able to pull lines that quickly and smoothly. You know, to be able to just like be like boom and then boom and then boom. It just takes time to pull lines that smoothly. And you might not know how hard it is if you never tried. So, like I'm talking to people that maybe might not draw or whatever, watch these videos for a reason because they want it, they're thinking about drawing or something, and they see it done, even if I was doing it with pencil right now, and it's like, yeah, that looks easy enough, and then it's like, ask them, okay, now you try it, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot harder than I thought it was. See, that line doesn't need to be thick. I decide I don't like it, so. Right, so there we go. That's the outlining for, and I would tattoo that the same way when I'm tattooing it, so I'm going to use a purplish, kind of like, not purple, it's not true purple, it's more of a violet. That's what I think it's technically called. And I'm going to outline all of these with that color. I could just, you know, when I'm tattooing it, I could just do blood lines for all of that and then just fade it with color. So there's literally no line work. It's just color. Like a painting. And I don't think I want it like that, so I'm going to slightly redesign the way those swirlies work. Something more like that. So that way they kind of come in. See, some of that line work didn't quite come out all that great. could look a lot better than that. Man, see? I wish why is it doing that right there? It's like, I'm going to zoom in. If you notice something weird's happening and you just can't quite get the curve to look right, try zooming in some and it might help. Alright, so I'm going to doing, lines like that with swirl. It might be best to do things like that in Illustrator. You'll get much smoother lines in Illustrator for doing things like that. Also, you want to make sure your hand can easily glide across the screen, which means you might want just a little bit of baby powder on your hand, or use one of those gloves they sell, or you can make one yourself, but it just covers your pinky and your ring finger, and then your drawing fingers all open, and then the glove kind of fits a little bit onto your hand. That way, it runs smoothly across the plastic surface of the Cintiq or whatever it is you're drawing on. I'm thinking I want one swirl here just to offset some color there, run that red. There we go. Alright, looking good. So since I'm just going to be outlining, doing the exact same thing here, nothing new, I'm going to pause. So because I know the butterfly is going to be to be kind of like the blue and purple on the outside of the butterfly, I used one of the darker colors, the purple, to outline that as well. The inside I'm going to line with what colors I'm going to be coloring this with. I decided I'm just going to leave that as bud lines, as if I just ran over with the gun, and then I'll just color it rather than using lines. So now I'm going to start with the coloring process, and I'll start there then. I set this to red so I know it's my color, and I got to decide the colors I want to use. So I'm thinking that those shapes will fade from the kind of purple to blue, I'm thinking. So I'll fill it in with blue. Of course you can't do this when you're tattooing, not like not like that, but to save time, it's for the design process. Right, so I have that with blue like that, and just to make this easier for me, I'm going to have this kind of turquoise kind of green color coming behind, and so I put a layer behind it really quick, and this just makes it easier when doing the designing process, like so. And actually, I'm still on that layer, so I can go ahead and, oh no, because I want to have the blue done first. So and because this part is going to take a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead again and put it on pause, because there's really no reason to show all this part. It's kind of boring. And I'm not really going to be talking about anything, so something like that. And then when I'm going through the actual coloring process, I'll come back, but I'm going to lay all my flats out really quick. Oh, actually I should show you a quick trick then when I lay out my flats. Let's say I'm going to use that. I want to use a slightly different red, slightly lighter red for the inside of the flower. And what you do then, I'll make sure I'm on the right layer, is I just kind of come around. I want to make sure, yeah, it looks like it's light enough. And you pretty much just outline the outline of your whatever it is you want to color in. So just go through all the outside of it like that. And I want to do this in real time because I want you to see how fast this process is if you do it with Photoshop. It's just so much faster than anything else you can do. And then come back up where we left off. Use the marquee tool to fill that in like that. Notice I'm on my own layer, that's why it fills all that in. Make sure that all that is the way you see it up there, contiguous and anti-alias. I have this expand thing, and basically what this does, and I just have it as a preset, but what it does is it goes select, modify, expand by 2 pixels, and then edit fill with foreground color. So that's my shortcut. Boom, done. And I can see is that what I might end up having to do then is go back to my line work. Anyway, just darken up my lines a little bit by going to levels, and then alright, my son just got home, so let's see here. I'm trying to think if I make it more of an orange, and then I can just like fade the red in. Alright, that'll work. That way the line work sticks out more. And let's see. Alright, so going back to this, I'm just going to fill in the rest of the blues, and then I'm going to put behind that, I'm going to put the probably purple.